Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 18 of What If Naruto Was Exiled from the Otsutsuki clan. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King of What If Naruto Fell for Naruto and join him and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as Minma had lost it in the forest, as he watched her teammates being blown away, as a massive surge of chakra spread through the entire area. It literally trembled the forest. It felt so familiar to her as she stepped forward, moving towards it as her teammates called after her, but she ignored them as she made her way. Meanwhile, Minma was facing off against Orochimaru. Orochimaru was perplexed. He had taken down Hinata and Sasuke by biting Sasuke's neck and giving him a curse mark. Hinata had tried to stand in his way and he had hurt her rather badly, and Minma had lost it. Orochimaru was caught off guard as he was hit several times, to the point where he had to shed his skin twice. From a mere genin, as the power output was enormous, Minma's eyes were white, so white it looked like he was blind. Orochimaru was forced to flee, as Hinata came back with Sasuke on her shoulder, as she looked exhausted, not to mention she was bleeding. As Minma looked towards her, as he saw that she was okay. Along with Sasuke, he passed out from the rush of power. It was then that he arrived, as she looked towards him. Hinata was hostile at first to protect her teammates, but he pulled out her scroll and told her that she already had a scroll. She just wanted to help. As she actually helped as she brought them towards the tower. When Minma woke up a few days later, he saw Snavy as she was there. Snavy had come to care for the boy. After all, he was a part of her family, and whether she liked it or not, Naruto was also a part of her family. Over the past few months, things have gotten, well, calm. She could stand being in the same room as him now. As Minma was taken towards her room where Naruto was, as Sasuke was crying out in pain as Minma was confused, as Naruto was removing the mark from Sasuke's neck. As he wasn't a master of Jutsu for nothing, it was easy work to remove the soul fragment, as everyone saw the pale soul fragment of Orochimaru that had barely managed to develop inside of Sasuke as Naruto incinerated. After some moments, he made his way when Gaara was walking past him on the hall. As Gaara-san attacked him out of nowhere, Gaara dropped to his knees, crying out in pain. His mother was angry as Naruto moved over and placed a hand on his head. As Naruto was able to enter his mindscape as he saw Shikaku, he didn't have anything to say, as he knew that Shikaku would not just accept his apology. Shikaku had tried to grab him and squash him with his hand, but Naruto couldn't be restrained by Shikaku. He was able to push past it, as Naruto placed a hand on Shikaku's head as he apologized. But Shikaku blasted him away and told him to leave, which Naruto did. He had to find a way to make it up to Shikaku. The time passed though as the preliminaries finally started. As Naruto was up there, along with his team, as Sasuke was the first one to fight, Itachi was able to make it as he was off missions, along with Mikato. Itachi noticed the strange eye movements between his mother and Naruto, but he did not say anything about it. Sasuke was able to dominate. Kabuto's teammate, he stood absolutely no chance against him, as he simply smirked, aiming back up, as he greeted his brother and his sensei, and his mother as well, as he knew that he could handle it rather easy. The other matches went off, as Hinata was called to face off against Neji. She looked rather nervous, as Naruto told her to do her best. That's all he asked, as the confidence in her lit once again, as she made her way down to face Neji, who looked at her with nothing but pity on his face, thinking that this was going to be an easy match. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. Hinata took a deep breath as she stood right in front of Neji, his cool eyes looking at her like she was nothing, like she was just a mere speck of dirt in front of him. The proctor looked at the both of them and asked them if they were ready, as Hinata simply gave a nod. Neji looked at her with disgust, as he looked towards the proctor before, nodding his head as well. "I warned you," he said as he shifted into his stance, as he moved forward. As everyone watched him, he was known as a genius amongst the Hyuga clan, so everyone figured that this would end only one way. Kurenai figured the same as well. She knew that Hinata had gotten a bit stronger with training with Naruto, but she knew about Neji as well. After all, she was Hinata caretaker when she was younger. She knew that there was resentment and hate there. But yet Hinata stood her ground, as Neji came in with a front strike. To everyone's surprise, Hinata twisted her body as she moved right out of the way, even surprising Neji. Urza smiled at that as she looked down. The girl had adapted beautifully. Hinata then came in with a backhand. As a chakra on her palm, it was saturated. Neji was able to jump though as he flipped away. He landed gently. He looked at her confused, like that didn't just happen. "Yeah, kick his ass, Hinata," shouted Minma. As Neji snarled at that when he saw the small smile on Hinata's face. "Don't let them fool you into a sense of security. You will not win here. I've already told you to give up, but you will not. So, it's just a matter of me ending this," Neji said. Hinata stretched her feet apart, as she adopted a strange stance that Neji has never seen before. He looked at her with pity. She was trying to make things up to throw him off guard, but it will not work. This time he moved towards her with an increase of speed, as he put in the effort by activating his Byakugan. As he struck out, but to his utter shock, she tilted her head slightly. The hand passed her, before she raised her own hand and locked Neji's elbow. She then yanked him forward with surprising amount of strength, as she placed her other hand out as it connected with his stomach. Neji felt an unnatural force enter his body before it came through his back. Then pain settled in as he dropped down to his knees. He winced out in pain as he clutched onto his stomach, as Neji couldn't understand what the hell was going on. He was furious as he looked up. Pushing through the pain, he lashed his hand out at her, but she knocked his hand to the side. In his pain vision moment, he wasn't able to focus well, as she brought her hand down and hit him right in the shoulder, knocking him off balance. He fell right on his back, as Hinata came moving towards him. He had to as he reached in his pouch and pull a kunai and toss it towards her. She knocked it away. That gave him enough time to jump on his feet, as he still clutched onto his stomach. "What just happened?" said Kurenai, as she was confused. Hinata barely touched him. As Urza came over, as Naruto looked towards her. "Done with your youth?" he asked. "Oh, not yet," Urza said, as she had that knowing grin on her face that seemed to just piss Naruto off even more. As Mikato giggled at the scene. These two, they really act like brothers and sisters. Urza then turned towards Kurenai. "That boy, he won't win against Hinata. Naruto was just being a bit modest when he told Hinata to do her best. After all, that boy doesn't stand a chance." Everyone was surprised by those words. After all, they knew who Neji was. Furthermore, Lee and Tintin scoffed in her mind. They had no idea what they were talking about. Neji was the best of the best. There was no way that he could lose. On the other hand, Neji snarled as he shot forward. Hinata stood there calmly as she waited for him to arrive. This time his hands moved like blurs, but Hinata's hands connected with each of his strikes, countering them perfectly, shocking Neji completely. He had to stop as he moved back. Neji looked towards his arms. He was trying to shut her points while doing that, but she countered all of his moves. "No, this is not possible. Fate declared that you will lose today. I won't," he said. "I've already told you Big brother Neji, said Hinata. Fate is not what is guiding me. And you should not let it guide you neither. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's because of that attitude of yours that is why you will lose, said Neji. As he shot forward once again. His speed this time seemed to be maxed out. As he arrived in front of Hinata, he pushed his arm forward to incapacitate her one strike. But she tilted her body as her back started to resonate chakra from the pores in her back. She used that chakra to level herself so that she would not fall, showing a complete mastery at her age that wasn't supposed to be possible. The Jonins were shocked as Harrison smiled. It seems that Naruto training is really paying off a lot. The girl was able to literally float there. She then brought her leg up, BAM! As it slammed into Neji's chin, launching him backwards. Neji crashed to the far wall. Tintin and Lee were shocked as Neji struggled to pick himself up. Hinata pulled out a stroll as she went through Hansen on seal 3 containers that were as large as her hands as she opened them. She then flashed through hand sign, water style she said, raging current, as water poured right out of the containers and rushed towards Neji. This was a rather shocking sight after all. Most Hyugas never dependent on ninjutsu, always on their gentle fist style, thinking that it was above everything else. But yet here was Hinata, disgracing that and using ninjutsu. Neji was able to move as the water slammed into the wall. He turned, but Hinata wasn't finished. Water release. Water bullet! Neji twisted and dodged, knocking away the water bullet with his palms, saturated in chakra. But he took his eyes off Hinata and that was the wrong move. The next moment, the ground underneath his feet broke as he looked down. The moment he looked down, a hand came out and slammed right into his chin. That sent him skyrocketing as he was picked off the ground. As Neji was falling, he twisted and landed on his feet as blood was leaking from his mouth. I don't wish to harm you anymore, she said. Give up. Neji spat. You harming me, telling me to give up. You must be delusional, as he shot forward in rage. He dropped into his stance the moment he was close to her. It's over. 8 tetragrams, 64 palms. As he lashed out his attacks, Hinata dressed back as he was coming towards her. Her eyes were closed. The veins to her eyes were pulsing. As Eartha smiled, all-seeing eye, said Hinata. Universal block. She started to rotate her hands at immense speed. As Naruto smiled seeing that, the chakra around her hands formed a literal dome. As Neji tried to get through, but all of his attacks were being stopped. When his 64 palms were up, he stood there with a shocked look on her face as Hinata used all that gather up chakra and blasted forward. The shocking blast threw Neji like a doll across the arena as he slammed into the far wall. His head hitting against the wall roughly as he fell, face first. The proctor jumped down as he checked Neji's pulse. He was out cold. Everyone was speechless. Winner, Hinata Hyuga. Hinata had a smile on her face as Minma, even Sasuke gave a small cheer. Mikato, Urza, and Naruto as well waved towards her happily. She looked over at Neji as she walked over the proctors, stepping aside, making the medics picked up Neji and placed him on the stretcher. Is he gonna be okay? She said. As the medic looked towards Neji, don't worry, he's just unconscious, he will be just fine. As Hinata smiled, as she was making her way back up, she looked at her hands. It seems like she underestimated herself. She was stronger than she thought. As she made her way, walking past Tintin and Lee, they were speechless. Even Guy was shocked, as that seemed ridiculous. Hinata, Kurenai said. As Hinata smiled, yes, Kurenai sensei? You did it. Kurenai doubted that this was mere luck as she glanced towards Naruto and Urza. Those two. It seems they were the best teacher for Hinata. I knew that you could do it. As she was hugged by Minma, a small blush came on her face as he released her. Good match, Sasuke said, as he gave her a soft smile. As she smiled back and bowed, she then bowed her head towards Urza and Naruto. Sensei, Naruto, she said. Thank you for all that you have done to help me so far. You too, Ursa-san, she said, as the both of them smiled and shrugged it off. There's nothing for you to thank us about, Hinata, said Naruto. Well, there is, kind of, Ursa said, as Naruto glared towards her to shut it. I told you that once you believed in yourself, you could do it, and you did, and you won. Told you I was right, he said. That you were, Sensei, she said. As the rest of the matches went off, as Yakumo faced off against Shikamaru, the girl might be a bit strong, but nothing Shikamaru could handle with his tactics. Saya faced off against Shino, as she was taken out with his bugs, although he didn't do anything to badly harm her. As Kankuro faced off against the last member of Kabuta's team, Tenten faced off against Lee, and Tenten was taken out rather quickly. Ino and Sakura faced off against each other and it was a draw. It was then that the name Ursa was called, as Ursa looked down towards the proctor, but it wasn't her. As E stepped forward, Ursa and Naruto already knew that was a fake name. Her heart had raced a bit when she had introduced herself. She was even hiding her name. There was a lot that this girl was hiding, but Naruto intended to find it out all. As she made her way, Kiba had a rather smug look on his face. As Kurenai looked towards him. Do not underestimate her because she's a girl, Kurenai said angrily, as she knew that is exactly what Kiba was thinking. Huh, I got this, Kiba said. Kurenai hated that in his attitude. He was a bit sexist. Well, he was gonna find out that just because she's a girl, it doesn't mean that he was stronger. As Naruto kept a keen eye on E, as she slowly made her way down there, she glanced up towards them, as she saw, as Minma waved towards her, she gave him a small wave back. He was rather nice. As she was conflicted with her thoughts, because his chakra felt so inviting and warm, like they were some kind of family. Yet she didn't know him. This was the third time meeting him now, so it made no sense. But yet she had the feeling to save him no matter what when she was out there, when she helped Hinata. As Kiba looked towards her, "Hey Toots," he said, with a smile on his face. "Oh, why don't you just give up and I'll take you to a date?" She batted her eyes. "Oh, is that so?" she said. Kiba was caught completely off guard, as a small blush came on his face. "Well then, Mr. Handsome," she said, "where would you take me?" Well, you, as he was rather nervous. He didn't expect her to react this way, but he regained his bearings. "Well, to my favorite spot in the village," he said, sweat beating down his brow. "Alright, tell you what," she said. "If you manage to land a single hit on me, I'll go to a date with you." "Wait, really?" As she nodded. As Kurenai was shocked. Did the girl just agree to that? "Are the both of you ready?" asked the proctor. "Hell yes," said Kiba. "Akamaru, stay out of this one," he said. "Don't want to hurt her too much. After all, we'll be going on a date afterwards." As E simply smiled. Yakumo and Saya simply shook their head. This boy didn't know what he was in for. "Begin," the proctor said. Kiba didn't waste any time as he shot forward as Akamaru was sitting over to the side, watching his master move with incredible speed towards the girl. As he brought his fist to give her a slight tap to knock her out, she moved with it away as Kiba turned back around. Faster than I thought, huh? He flashed in front of her, using a burst of speed the fastest he can go. But to her it was rather pathetic. She grabbed his arm that he tried to punch her with. As she squeezed it, Kiba's eyes went wide as he cried out in pain. As bones could be heard snapping, Kiba dressed back as she released him. What the hell?" he said, holding on to his broken wrists. He looked back up and BAM! Her fist smashed into his face. Kiba's body was picked up and launched as he crashed right in the wall. He spat out blood as his head was grabbed as she sank his face into the wall. "Next time, don't underestimate me because I'm a girl," she whispered in his ear. "And besides, you smell like a dog. And I don't find you really that charming." As she released him, Kiba fell face first, unconscious. Everyone was shocked by the speed and the strength that girl possessed. Even Hiruzen narrowed his eyes as he watched. as he glanced towards Naruto, who seemed rather curious in her. Not just Naruto but Ursa as well. The next match was Choji versus Minma. It would be rather shameful if they lose, you know that, said Sasuke. Huh, as if. Minma then turned his head, as he raised a big thumbs up to everyone around him. Just watch me, he said. I'll make you proud. As he gave Naruto a smile, before he flipped off the arena and landed right in the center. As Choji made his way down, as he looked towards his opponent, what do you say we give it our best, Choji? Said Minma. Choji smiled at that, as he gave Minma a nod. The proctor asked him if they were ready, as both of them nodded. Alright, begin. Choji jumped back. Instantly, he went through hand signs. His body enlarged. As his hands went in, his legs went in as well. He was like a ball as he rushed towards Minma. Minma stood there as the full force of Choji slammed into him. Everyone was shocked that he just stood there. It was then that they saw it. When the smoke-clear Minma had his hands wide open, holding back the giant ball of Choji. Shikamaru was shocked by the strength. Sorry, Choji, can't afford to let you take me out so easily. As he gripped it and threw the massive spinning ball in the air, Choji started to lose momentum as Minma flashed above him. Minma's two hands were glowing with nothing but unrestrained chakra as he placed it on Choji's spinning form that was less than. Chakra palm, said Minma, as he dropped both hands on Choji. The surge of chakra released, but it was gentle. It struck Choji in his chakra system as he dropped from the sky with a boom. Minma landed as Choji was out cold, his body twitching. As the proctor jumped down and called the match, everyone was shocked by the speed that the match was over with. As Minma went up with a proud smirk on his face, before he looked towards Sasuke. Could be luck, Sasuke said. What? Minma shouted. The next match, as Guy cried out, Go on, Lee. Show him your power of youth. As the board was Gaara versus Lee. As Naruto watched Gaara make his way down there, he was muttering something to himself. Gaara turned his eyes towards him as the both of their eyes locked. As Naruto could swear that he saw Shikaku looking at him with nothing but rage and anger. As he stepped in the arena, Do your best, Lee, Ursa shouted out right beside Naruto. Show him that power of youth that you possess. As she looked over towards Guy and gave him a big thumbs up. As Guy gave her a thumbs up back, his teeth were shining. As she was speaking directly at Naruto's ear, she was also shouting on top of it, just to piss him off. But yet he kept his calm. And that was not a good thing after all. Why was he being so calm? She then saw a devious smirk on his face, like he was playing something. Despite their situation, they could still have fun, and she liked that. He was her best friend after all, like a brother to her. Lee started to face off against Gaara. As Naruto saw the amount of hate and anger that the boy possessed because of Shikaku, the amount of rage, bloodlust, the look of death and despair on his face, it made him feel miserable. As Minma noticed that, Jiji, he said, What's wrong? Oh, nothing, Naruto said. But Minma knew that was a lie, as he could feel it. There was sadness, despair, as his Jiji watched the match that was unfolding right there. The match was brutal. For a moment they thought that Lee had it when he opened the gates. Naruto was surprised that Lee could go that far, but he did. But still, Gaara came out on top. Guy had to jump in to stop Lee from being killed, as Gaara wanted to squash him to death. Lee was rushed off to the infirmary, as Ursa went over and talked to Snedy as she went off with them, to make sure that Lee was okay because that didn't seem normal. As Naruto saw the bloodthirsty look on Gaara's face as he made his way back up, he was being healed instantly by the raccoon inside of him. But the preliminary matches were finally over, and everyone was lined up to hear who they will be facing off against. As they got to pick their number, Shikamaru would be facing off against Temari. Shikamaru sighed. This was the second girl that he was fighting. Troublesome, he thought to himself. The next match was Hinata versus Kankuro. The third match was Minma versus Ursa. As Minma turned and looked towards her, she was also looking at him. but she gave him a friendly smile. As he smiled back, seeing that there was no hard feelings, even though they had to fight each other. The fourth match was Sasuke versus Gaara. The fifth match was Shino versus the person that won the first match. And those were the people that were going to be facing off in the preliminaries, and so on until there was two people remaining in the end to battle each other. Well, it was surely going to be an entertaining spectacle, that it is. Time skip. 3 days later, many things had happened in the past 3 days. For one, Uncle finally got what she wanted. She got her seal removed. She was no longer tainted by that disgusting snake freak. Naruto wasn't able to interact with Shikaku again because the competitors of the sign left instantly to return back to their village for the month prior, as he had a month to get ready. Speaking of that, given the fact that each of his members passed, they couldn't train with each other after all. If they did, they would know each other's moves, and it would be rather unfair. So they all separated. For one, as Minma made his way to train with Jiraiya, Jiraiya was eager to get some godfather time with him. After all, he hasn't been much in his life lately, so he had begged Naruto to let him take Minma. Minma was too kind and gentle to spy, and Sasuke and Hinata trained to know what they're going to bring to the finals if he ended up fighting them, so he accepted. Sasuke went off with his brother, Itachi, to give him some one-on-one training time. Hinata was taken by Erza even though Naruto could train her. Erza insisted, more like she demanded, that this was how things was gonna go. Naruto was gonna ignore her and train his student, but she told him that she was doing this for his sake. For his sake. She gave him a wink and told him to go ahead. And then Mikato had shown up at his door. It was their regular little date around the village. They never thought of it that way before, but now that she had kissed him by accident and things were changing, things seemed different. Yes, it was a lot different now. He still hadn't spoke to her about that, as he hadn't gotten the time. After facing off against Izon, they had returned back to the village as Erza was there. She was doing this for his sake. She was trying to make him spend some time with Mikato. She knew that he was still hurting from the past. She was trying to get someone else in his life. Another attachment, but this one, an emotional love attachment. Things went normally for the day. Nothing out of the way happened. Everything went normal. They spoke about random things here and there, avoiding the subject of what happened that night. They were enjoying their time so much together, as she missed this because things have been awkward lately. They haven't had much time to interact because of what happened that day. But now things seem to be returning back to normal. And once they were having fun, time seemed to fly by so easily. The both of them stood on top of the monument, as it was night time. The village, looking wonderful down below them. All the lights everywhere, as a cool breeze rushed through their hair. As Mikato looked at his long, unkempt, white natural hair. You know, I always want to ask, how do you get your hair to just stay that way, she said. His hair was just flat. It looked like he'd never had a bad hair day in his entire life. Genetics, I guess, he said, as her eyebrow twitched at that. That's not really an answer, she said to him. You know, I can easily turn that back against you, he said. How so, she asked. Alright, said Naruto. Why do you have breasts, he asked, that are more larger than a male? She was taken aback by the question, but there was one word that came to her mind. Genetics, said Naruto for her. So you don't know, she said, as he shook his head. Well, I have to give you that one, I guess, she said, as that made Naruto laugh, until he quieted down, as he looked down towards the village. Look, Naruto, she said. As Naruto cut her off, there are some things that you don't know about me, he said. You never pry or ask me who Izon was, when I told you that he was not important for now. You understood that I didn't want to talk about it, so you backed off. But there are some things that you don't know. I never got to talk to you about that night, when we kissed. It seems like a spur of the moment thing, like you never really meant it. But, said Naruto, speaking before she could say anything, things between us have been strange ever since. It's almost like you like me. I have to say the thought never crossed my mind. Not because I haven't looked at you that way, it's just because I've been incapable of doing that for a long time now. That is why I'm gonna tell you everything. I believe you need to know before you even start to think about anything happening between us. His tone was dead serious, and she just nodded. As he sat down, she sat down right beside him. It all started. Mikato listened. Naruto details were rather vague. He never went into details about the Otsutsukis, but he did tell her that he was not from this planet completely. It seems like she was right when she overheard Kushina said that her father was not from this planet. And she now understood. She had never pried on what happened, why he was gone. But now, as he told her everything about his life, things that she never thought was possible in this world, it made her whole world change. To know that there was other beings out there even as strong as him, and even stronger. The thought was ludicrous and impossible. And now she understands the reason, as he told her about his love with Kushina, and how she changed him because he never used to act this way before. As he talked about that he was a dreadful person in the past, he never went on details on what he did, but he wasn't a good person. She knew that all of them had their secrets, but, well, seems like his were a bit darker than most. But she listened to everything he had to say, as he told her everything that happened, and everything that was taken away from him. The woman that he loved, the people that became his family, and that is the reason why he left. She was shocked silence after that, as it was a lot to take in. As Naruto simply looked out into the vast silence of the village, until he felt a hand rest on his shoulder. As he turned to look at her, I must say, that was a lot she said, but there was a smile on her face. I'm glad that you told me though. It just means that you trust me more. And you're right, I do have feelings for you. At first, I thought it was ridiculous after all. You're Kushina's father, my best friend's father, and that is supposed to sound crazy, given your age when you compare to mine, but you look even younger than me, she said. But I guess that's genetics. As she smiled at that, that made him laugh a bit. I don't know when it started to happen, but you've became more than a friend to me, and I can't deny that fact. And I hope that somehow, some way, we can capitalize on that. I love Fukaku, she said. I had loved him. I thought I was to stay with him until the end, but fate seemed to change things. I know that you said that we choose our own fate, but if it wasn't for fate, I wouldn't have met you. We wouldn't have become close friends, and then this spark of feelings that I never had since Fukaku wouldn't have returned back to me. Spending the day with you and my kids is one of the few things in this world that make me truly happy. And I don't know what this will do to our friendship. And if it harms it in any way, I'm gonna have to deny it because I don't want to lose you, she said. But at the same time, I can't go on like this knowing that the feeling of my desire is right here, and I'm unable to do anything about it. So if you're okay with it, I would like to give it a chance, she said. She was straightforward. She was just looking directly at him. A memory flashed into his mind. It was a couple of years ago, with Kushina, as the both of them sat on the ceiling of the Uzumaki main house, as they were talking about his long lifespan. A sad look was etched on his face as he knew that one day he was gonna lose her. She smiled. Perhaps I'll become immortal, and we can spend the rest of our days together. You know, said Naruto, there's a couple of things I can... I'm just kidding, she said. As he frowned at that, she held his hand. Look, Naruto, things work out in different ways. You were bred to live longer. I was bred as a normal human to go through my life and enjoy it as it is. I want to see my children grow, and I want to see them take over for me. From the first time you told me about your long lifespan, I've thought about it. But we humans were placed on this earth to born, enjoy our life, and then eventually one day die. But it's not just us. You might live longer, but one day you will go as well. But that is the main deal of it all. I mean, when you think about it, knowing that one day you might pass is the reason why you have to live your life to your fullest and enjoy everything that life sends your way. Just like how I enjoy myself with you now, and you become one of the greatest things in my life. As she placed her hands on his cheek, even if I might pass, I wanted to know, even in death I will always love you no matter what. Because you, Naruto Uzumaki, are the love of my life. And I just want you to be happy. Things might be rough, but always be happy. Don't let my death hold you back from enjoying your life. Because one day, it might take a long while, but you will eventually die. But we should all die knowing that we have nothing to regret. Knowing that our life is spent living up to the fullest. Her smile was so beautiful and radiant as she pulled him into a tight kiss. The passion pouring from your lips as they bask in the moonlight. End of the flashback. As Naruto looked towards Mikato, he didn't see a flash of Kushina, he saw Mikato as her own person. Someone else that his heart had grew to understand and cherish. As someone precious to him. As she took his hand and gave him a beautiful smile. She saw the smile came on his lips, and it made her world felt at ease, despite the situation and the things that she just found out. His smile was just so radiant, wonderful. It was like a breath of fresh air. Time skip. Katsumi stood in front of her father. The man was not wearing his mask. Half of his face was being shadowed by the darkness of the room, while his mouth could be seen. The lower half of his face was unblemished, not a single scar. As he rested on his throne, it was like a throne made for a king. He just sat there. As Katsumi walked and stepped in front of him. "We need to talk," she said. "I see that you're back. What took you so long?" he asked. "The others took a while to get here, and I wasn't going to abandon them. After all, they're not as fast as me. And we're not exactly that close to Konoha." "Yes, but you could have left them behind. I'm sure that your sensei will get them home safely. I know that, but we need to talk about something else. I was given time to think and clear my mind. Something happened at Konoha." "And what is that, my child?" he said. "I met him." "The rightful god," the maskman said. "Yes. And he was strangely nice. But there was something else. He said that I was his family. He was somehow my grandfather. And a boy there, his name is Minma, was my brother. Do you have any idea what he's talking about?" "It is just lies." "But why would he lie to me about something like that? I mean, it makes no sense. I never met him in my life before. Why would he care about me? He seemed almost happy to meet me. I could feel the happiness radiating from him when he met me. And it was like somehow we were a family. But I know that it's a lie, but why? Why would he do that? Perhaps he can also sense your power. Knowing that you're powerful for your age. Perhaps he wants to use you." "No, I doubt that's the case. He's too powerful. I would not stand a chance against him. Why would he want someone like me? He could crush anyone. I can feel it. Not even you, father. You don't stand a chance against him." "Were you able to estimate his true power?" "Not all, but it's immense. Far stronger than I thought." "So, what are we gonna do? And what am I supposed to do about this whole event of him claiming to be my grandfather?" "Do you believe him? Do you believe I would lie to you? After everything I've told you about Konoha and how power hungry they are. And not to mention what that man has done in the past. You know what he has done to 3 nations, kids, innocent people. He butchered, he slaughtered And not to mention he's a part of that village that took your mother away. Kushina hand clenched at that, as she thought about her mother that she never got to meet. Her mother died when she was a baby, as her face was replaced with nothing but anger. Fine, she said. I don't know what his game is, but I want to find out what the hell does he want from me by lying. And we will, my daughter. Did you get what I asked? Yes, it was not easy, but I did. It seems like your suspicions were correct. I captured one of those ninjas. From the sound, he didn't know much, but I plagued his mind. There's an invasion that's gonna happen in a month, at the end of June exams. Orochimaru is behind it. The man smiled at that. Good, he said. Do you intend to join? She asked. Not fully, but, well, let's just see. We have a chance to get revenge for what that village did to your mother. Are you sure that you still want to go through this? I mean, you seemed like you had a change of mind. Of course not, she said. They will pay for taking my mother away from me. And for what they did to you. They will all pay, she said. No, that's more like it. Well then, I believe you have some training to do. And some more information to give me on this boy. That is a grandson of the rightful god. Her face showed curiosity for a brief second as she wondered if Minma was lying to her as well. If that man was indeed his grandfather, then he knew as well, right? So they were all lying to her. Why should she believe any of them, seeing that she was a part of their family? His chakra might feel similar, but of course they were not family. This man right here, he was her father. She couldn't believe that she second-guessed herself. And she had to get her priorities straight. And for what that village did, she would never forgive them. Never. Time skip at Konoha. The technique took Jiraiya 3 months to learn. But to his utter shock, it only took this boy 3 days. As Minma stood in front of him with a Rasengan in his palm, the untapped engine swirling, as Minma had a smirk on his face, as Jiraiya was proud, immensely so. Well, he had more time to teach him a few of his techniques, given the fact that he's already mastered the Rasengan. Meanwhile, Sasuke was currently panting, as he was exhausted as he looked up towards his brother. Sasuke forced himself back to his feet. Not giving up, Itachi asked, with a small smile on his face. No, Sasuke said. Sasuke knew that Minma was stronger than him. It doesn't matter how much time he tried to deny it. Minma was stronger than him, and he knew it. Itachi smiled when he saw determination in his brother's eyes. He was not going to give up. Sasuke knew that he had to get stronger. Meanwhile, Hinata was on her knees as she was panting. Standing over her was Urza. As Urza looked down towards the child, who could barely move, but yet she was forcing herself back up. When she had went home, her father had found out about what happened in June exams. He was actually proud of her. But she also saw the branch members. They had gotten angrier. Knowing that Hinata has defeated Neji had pushed them down. After all, Neji was their hope. He was a pride of the branch member. Knowing that they had someone who could best all of the younger ones and some of the older ones in the main branch. The branch family was proud of that, but now they have dropped down because Neji was defeated. Hinata had tried to talk to him, but he was angry. He was violent. He almost attacked her when she did. But he refrained from doing so in the house, knowing that it would cause his punishment. He'd walk past her with a rough, angry exterior. But it did not matter. She was going to get stronger until she could take over. And she was going to change the Hyugas no matter what. She forcefully got back to her feet. As Urza looked towards her with a curious stare. Do you still want to continue? Urza asked. I'm not done yet, Hinata said, as she dropped back in her stance even though her legs were shaking. Urza smiled determination. Well then, come, she said. Time skip. Sasuke was sleeping. In the kitchen was Mikato and Itachi, as both of them were drinking tea. Itachi knew the reason why his mother wished to speak to him privately. He knew. The thought had been circling his mind lately, but seems like he was correct. As his mother sat in front of him, she looked nervous. Really nervous. He could tell that this was an affair of the heart, not a normal affair. Do you wish to speak about Naruto? Itachi asked. Mikato raised her eyebrow before she sighed. Itachi was smart. More than smart. So, well, there was no point of trying to hide something when he was there. So you know. I've seen glances, and the way you both talk to each other. I'm guessing that something else is there other than friendship. I know what you must think of me. And I don't want you to believe that I will sully your father's memories. So I want to know what you have to say about this before I move forward in my actions. She was looking at him. Itachi was her eldest son, and he had been there. He had become the rock of the family and the clan when the members had been killed. She had broken down. She had fallen apart. He had been there and he had been holding up everything for her until she was able to get back on her feet. So, if Itachi didn't want this, she would lock her feelings away. Because she couldn't do that to him after all he's done. She couldn't do him like that. She looked up when she felt the hand placed on her wrist. He was smiling. Such a kind smile. I just want you to be happy, mother, he said. Tears filled her eyes. As she got up and made her way towards him and hugged him, as he hugged her back. His father had passed a long time now. And he just wanted his mother to be happy. And he saw that Naruto made her happy. That is all Itachi wanted. He just wanted her to be happy. And if Naruto could do that, who was he to get in the way of his mother's happiness? Meanwhile, that was going on. A report was placed on a desk, in front of a rather short man with a rather large nose. The man looked over the report as he clenched his fists. It has been a few weeks now since the rumors have been spreading. The description of the people of the former village had came in. It wasn't easy because his ninjas had to disguise themselves as normal traveling folks and blend into the village and befriend the people there to find out what truly happened. And it was reality. White hair, white eyes. A power to obliterate the Sky Kingdom in seconds. Only he clenched his fists as he stood in his office. His office that was not showing the might of his village anymore because his village was no longer its prominent, proud, hidden village. It was nothing but a common village right now. Over the years past, 30 plus years he has been regrouping and slowly gathering shinobis. His force was decent but still not enough to wage war against Konoha and win. But now, this man, he was back. The same thing was happening at Kumo, where there was more than enough shinobis than civilians. Now there was mostly civilians. The Raikage was petrified with rage to find out that it was a reality. He remembered those eyes, those strange shaped eyes. That man that turned his father into dust. He remembered him quite well. Now he was back. The Raikage had been pushing himself immensely for the past 30 plus years to be ready to kill that man for what he did. And he will get his revenge. At Hiri, the place had been rebuilt. It has been 30 plus years. They had a few shinobis that were out in the wartime. So they still have quite a number of shinobis to fight a battle, but nothing too serious. A man, well, he was a man but he looked like a boy, sat in his chair as he also received the report. As he turned toward a small statue in his office, it seems like he has returned. Off planet, at the Otsutsuki world, several individuals were gathered in secret. Standing in front of them was none other than Aizen. As he looked towards his people, "He is alive," Aizen said. as they were all focused on his words. And he will be the one to end Momoshiki. So either you keep on following that pompous ass jerk, or regain what we lost, our pride. As the Otsutsuki, as Aizen looked towards his people, these were a few of the people that were from Naruto house and his as well. And a few of the others that refused to bow down to Momoshiki ruling. But there was someone there watching. Someone that didn't fully agree with Aizen and didn't like Naruto that much. And, well, let's just say, if he was to reveal this to Momoshiki, he would be rewarded greatly. And not to mention Momoshiki would finally find that traitor and dispose of him. As the man smirked. But guys, if you end this episode right here, if you want to see the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. But I'm off for now, see you guys soon. Peace.